Right. Okay.
Hey everybody, this is Buddy Hagel with Buddy's BBQ, and we're here with BBQ Shop Talk Sunday once again. And we're kind of cheating a little bit because it's not Sunday, but we're going to pretend like it is. Today we're talking about ribs. There's different ways to cook your ribs, different types of ribs. We're going to work with spare ribs today. The spare ribs, oh by the way, my friend Guy Fieri is supposed to be here today and he didn't show up. I don't know what happened. He might have forgot we were friends. But anyway. This is called a St. Louis cut. If you can see it or not, this is a St. Louis cut of a pork spare rib. Sometimes you see the spare ribs in the grocery store that's got that rounded off top on it. Sometimes they call it the cap, or it's called different things. I prefer to use these. You can use those if you want to. There's not much bone in that top piece. You cut right through it if you cook them tender enough. Or you can cut that piece off, and a lot of people do this and season it up and smoke that piece and call it rib tips. So you can do it that way too. But this way we're going to do it for today. This is a pork spare rib, kind of comes from right down around in here on the pig. They come out really, really tender. I've already opened and cleaned these off, washed these off, get all the blood off of them, just to get kind of a head start on it. So prepping these things, I need a sharp knife. Now these are pretty thick. It's going to make a good rack of ribs. So sometimes you got little chunks of fat that you can trim off if you want to. Like that piece right there, I'm going to trim it off. Alright. Looks pretty good there. Now, I'm going to flip this over. Turn it around. Now here's a little secret on the spare ribs. A lot of people know it, some people may not. There's a little membrane that goes across the back, right back here. It's really not real tasty. So, and there's another one underneath it that kind of holds all these bones together. So try to peel this off. So, there's a trick to this. What I do is I go down about the third bone. 1, 2, 3. And you can't do it if you got a glove on. Because you got to get your fingernail up underneath in there. Like that. And you start working it. Start working it till it, be careful. And then once you get it back just a little ways, if you can see this, take a paper towel. So you makes you grip this thing a little bit better. Just work it towards the end. I start down here and work this way. Kind of go around, and sometimes it'll tear, and you gotta go back and get that piece. This one's working pretty good. Right there, that's that big piece that we pulled off. You got to pull that off because that's kind of nasty. All right, now right here on the back of this set of spare ribs, they're not always there, but this is a little piece that's kind of above the bone there. It's kind of a piece that you can cut it off, or you can leave it on if you want to. These are some pretty thick ribs, so I'm gonna trim this off, and this got a little bit of fat down in there. I'm going to trim that off. Now this thing you can do just kind of like that cat piece we were talking about. We can smoke this and cut it up, or freeze it, put it in beans, or something like that. You can do a couple different ways. So just cut the rest of this off. Alright. Some of that fat off of there. I'm just going to set this aside. We'll do that later. Right now, I'm going to do the same thing with that piece right there. Okay, so now this is all kind of squared up and looking pretty good. Cut this up, do the same thing. Now, we're ready to roll. We'll flip this back over. Actually, I'm going to leave it in the back. Just one second. Let me get the stuff I need here. Hang on. Alright. Apple juice in a squirt bottle. Pretty important. Right there like that. Man. It's nice and 101 degrees out here. It's beautiful. Boy. Actually it's probably cold for like down to 100.5 degrees maybe. Alright, so we got our apple juice. paper towels for peeling that membrane off there. This is your basic rubber chicken. And when you're cooking ribs, this doesn't mean nothing. Throw that crap away. Alright. Then we got your rub. There's all kinds of different rubs. There's some you can buy online, so you can go to the store, you can make your own. This right here is a little bit spicy but a little bit sweet. That's the kind of combination I like to use. So also, I'm going to put some on the back. You know, some people don't rub the back because there's not a whole lot of meat back there, but you know, for the sake of this, I'm going to rub on the back too. We just sprinkle it on there. Don't be shy with it. Rub it in. Alright. Now I'm going to take this apple juice and I'm going to spritz it a little bit. And put a little bit more on there. Pat that all in. Don't forget to get your hands dirty. Do the other side. You do it like this, get you a little shaker from the store, do it like this, or you get a big plastic tub. You're doing several of them, just flip them over and rub that all in. Different ways to go about it. Just try to keep it from blowing away. Alright. Alright, same thing. You spritz the apple juice. Rub. Okay, we're ready to go. With the spare ribs. Keep the apple juice handy because as they cook, you don't want to be opening the pit a whole lot. But every once in a while, every hour or so, maybe open it up and shoot them down with this apple juice because it keeps them from skinning over in case your heat gets too hot. They got baby back ribs you can do too. Those come a little bit more up on the back of the pig, but these are what I like the best. Okay, now there's different ways that people look about how to cook your ribs. Okay, some people say, I don't know, maybe further up north or something, that you need to have a little bit of a bite to it. You have to kind of pull a little bit when you after the finish. You know, just take a bite of the ribs. We're in Texas, and that's not how it works. We have these ribs falling off the bone, okay? They just got to be where you got to have a really sharp knife or an electric knife just to cut them because they fall apart. And if the bone falls out of the rib, stick it back in. No big deal, but that's the way it goes. You know, that's what I do. These are ready to go on the pit. So I'm gonna put these in here. We got some more ribs, some other stuff coming for the sake of the video. We got this running about $2.25. I go between $2.25 and $2.50. A lot of guys like to cook them a little faster, so they run the temperature on up there. But this is what I do. It turns out good. Okay, I'm gonna leave them on the pit like that for about 3 hours. This is what a lot of people do. And you know, shoot this on there every once in a while, and after 3 hours, I'm gonna wrap them with some foil. And when they start to cook and tenderize a little bit, and I'm gonna check them after a couple more hours. You know, sometimes maybe 3. And when they get to where they're, man, you can barely pick them up, and you see that meat pull away from the bone, probably about that much. They're ready to go. They're ready to go. So then you open it up. I got a little glaze that I use, a little sweet heat glaze too. You just gotta dab a little bit of that on there and finish them off that way, and let it go in the pit just a little bit more, and they're done. You can just, man, sometimes you go right through the bone. But that's the way I do it. That's spare ribs. They'll come out pretty good. Those are pretty fat ribs there. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, shoot them my way. No big deal. I want to give a little shout out to my friend Larry Newberry. Hope you're doing good, friend. And that's it. That's a rib lesson for today. I think we'll do brisket next week. So y'all have a good weekend.